are back. Our first guest tonight does some truly phenomenal work in the Santa Rosa community that I've actually seen firsthand on more than one occasion. Here to chat about their amazing home, please give a warm welcome to Kieth Ann and Kelley Sanders with the Santa Rosa Kids House. I think the last time I saw you was at one of the tree ceremonies, maybe?
Festival of Trees,
the Festival of Trees.
Yes.
You guys do for people who don't know, you guys do this Festival of Trees where different people will put together trees and wreaths and donate them, and then you guys have a silent auction with a whole event, right?
We do. That's one of our big fundraisers.
Yeah, I've actually got a tree we still have it. I have a tree from there that is completely done up with the New Orleans Saints.
I remember that one.
Yeah, it's a cool tree. We still have it. So anyway, let's talk about some of the amazing. Well, before we start talking about the amazing work that you guys do, tell me a little bit about how you got into the work.
I was abused as a child, and so it stuck with me my whole life. I became a teacher and worked as a teacher for a couple of years and volunteered at the Kids House. And when I found out what great stuff they do for children who have been abused, I decided I had to be a part of that. So I've been there ever since.
Well, let's talk about that. For people who don't know, what exactly does the Kids House do?
We help children who have been abused physically, neglect, and sexually abused. We help them from the time that they have an event. They come to the Kids House. It's a comfortable, safe place for them. And all of the different agencies that work together to investigate all of the cases are under the same roof in the same building, and we work as a team to help the children.
What would you say are the missions and goals of the Kids House?
Well, our main mission is to help a child heal from all of their trauma and to do it in a childlike environment that's comfortable for them.
Now, Child Awareness Month is coming up in the month of April, right?
Yes.
And so is there anything you guys are doing different for that month?
Go ahead, Kelley, that's her thing.
We do just about anything you can imagine. We put blue bows up all over the county. We have events. We invite people to the Kids House. We go into the schools and talk to kids. So we're just promoting awareness the whole month. We kind of paint the town blue is what we say.
Oh, wow. So what would you say is the importance of advocacy? I'll learn how to speak. I'm having difficulty speaking today. I had a problem with the monologue and everything too. What do you think is the importance of advocacy centers like this, across the country?
Well,
what needs do they fill, I guess?
So that prosecution is a lot more successful when they have a child who is healing while they're going through the whole process, and when they're not having to go to a sheriff's office or go to the attorney's office. And working in an attorney's office, I mean, nobody wants to go tell their story 20 different times all over the place, but telling their story once to one person and having it recorded so they can use it in testimony if they need to, but also just a safe place for them to come and to get free therapy so they can heal.
So they can heal, and it's an environment where they can feel more comfortable basically saying what happened, because right. What ends up happening is that, I guess, there's issues with whether it be fear of repercussion and so on and so forth. There are things you can do to make them feel safe so they don't feel as much of likelihood of the repercussion, correct?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Now, piggybacking off that, how does foster care kind of fit into the whole thing?
So when kids are deemed in an unsafe situation, they are brought back to the Kids House where the investigators do their investigations so they figure out, is there a safe place we can take this child without putting them into foster care? Unfortunately, that does happen a lot of times where children have to go into foster care, and we are just in a crisis right now. There's not enough foster homes. We kind of contribute, some of that is to the opioid epidemic. There's so much drug use, and it's very hard to safety plan around that, so children just can't remain safely in the home when there's all of the chaotic things that are going on with substance misuse.
Well, speaking of that, how does that affect the work that you're doing? I mean, are we on the upswing? Are we now starting to see it improve? Is it getting worse?
In our county, it's still really big. Methamphetamine has been the biggest problem that we have encountered. It's kind of being topped over now with heroin use, and people are usually really surprised to hear that. But
well, no, because the crackdown on opioids, people go from the opioids straight to the heroin.
Mm-hmm. Just to give you an idea of what that looks like, in our county, there's 4,000 abuse maltreatments in last year. over 1,100 of those were centered around substance misuse. So just shows you how big it really is.
Wow. Now, getting into the law a tad, I do, everybody knows I do kind of the personal injury thing, but there's some laws coming up for lewd and lascivious, I guess, in the area. Can you tell me how you think that's going to impact the work that you do?
We're trying really hard to get them to pass a law that the Attorney General sees lewd and lascivious as having a mental injury on a child. Right now, we provide them therapy no matter what has happened to them. But the Attorney General won't pay victims compensation because they said lewd and lascivious is only molestation and touching and not actual, rape. So all these children who have gone through lewd and lascivious, who have been affected, they're basically saying they haven't been mentally injured. So we're trying to get a law passed where they do cover that for mental injury, because we're going to provide therapy for them whether or not. But
well, what's interesting is in a civil context, even when you deal with cases like sexual harassment, things along those lines, you can get mental anguish and emotional distress damages in a civil context in employment-related cases. So it would make sense that they should treat it in the same way.
Absolutely.
when you're dealing with it in the criminal sense, especially when it comes to children.
Absolutely.
That's just kind of crazy. Now, tell us a little bit about how people can get involved if they wanted to get involved with helping you guys.
We have a Facebook page and we have a website, www.santarosakidshouse.com. We have all kinds of volunteering opportunities you can do. We have different events you can come see, and we're always looking for wish list items for children.
Tell me a little bit about the events. Now, we talked a little bit about the festival, the tree lighting. Well, not the tree lighting, but the
Festival of Trees.
The Festival of
We've
Trees.
kind of switched that up a little bit.
Okay.
We're doing something called Legends in the Fall now.
Okay.
So we're providing music by bands and concert, that kind of thing, and then doing auctions, but it's more of a comfortable ceremony, so you're not coming up all dressed up. It's more comfortable.
Is that in Milton?
It is.
Okay.
And then it was at the Imogene last year. This year it's going to be the Santa Rosa Auditorium.
Okay.
In November.
Now, how did you get involved in it?
I have been a child abuse investigator in Santa Rosa County. Did that for a lot of years and kind of just switched gears because my own children, they needed mom there a little bit more. So I came up to the front of the building, started working in the advocacy part. I love it just as much.
Now, a personal question. When I was growing up, my mom worked for essentially the equivalent of DHR. And so I know firsthand from my mom coming home and bringing the work home with her on nights and having difficulty in seeing things that you can't unsee or learning about things you can't unlearn. How do you guys deal with that?
That's a question I get asked a lot, and what I tell people all the time is the job we do is not a job. It's not a 9-to-5 job. We are more like a family. We support each other. Part of what I do now in advocacy is not only working with the kids, but supporting the staff. We have, really bad cases, things are hard, and sometimes you can see it with the staff. We'll do crazy things just to support them, like I may bake cookies. I may find somebody to bring in a meal. We may have no telling what, just to boost them up, because we know, and that's the whole idea of a child advocacy center. It's collaboration with all of these different agencies. So we treat it that way, and when one of us is down low, we pick them back up, and just that's how we work.
Well, that was something that I always kind of wondered about. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Kelley. Thank you for Kieth Ann with the Santa Rosa Kids House. We'll be right back.